So it is an era of making tough choices. That is the only way you can achieve sustainability, at least in the manufacturing sector, according to Nicholas Velvet, the Managing Director of Nigerian Breweries. We keep our eye on that very critical sector of the economy. Now, let's take a quick listen to a report put together to bring together some of the highlights of day 2 at the 21st Nigeria Economic Summit, where we had the fourth plenary roundtable with the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, speaking on reforming public institutions, among other things.
These economic experts are gathered here for a second day at the National Economic Summit on how to reform the nation's public sector through transparency and accountability.
Public institutions, which is the theme of this session.
With over 500 federal agencies in the country, there is no doubt that the great chunk of the nation's budget goes into payment of workers' wages. But the new administration says it has come up with a system to ensure that unnecessary items are not listed in the budgets of federal institutions, except for projects with direct impact on the economy.
Time and time again, you find that we have the budget. It's named budget of something or the other, but you can't really identify what policy drives it. The main disadvantage of that, of course, is that there are no champions for the budget.
Recommendations from countries who have done well in the areas of stamping out corruption in their public service were discussed. A key step to achieving the same result in Nigeria, according to experts, should be in the areas of staff motivation and capacity building.
In Georgia, you had to go every year to the technical checkup. Of course, because population was so poor, 80% of the cars were not technically super correct. But everybody would still get this special paper saying that everything is fine. Don't ask me how, you know how. One blink of an eye, couple of dollars in your pocket, and that's it. That's all. So, we decided there is no point of having that kind of public service. There is no point of providing society with this type of service. So we just got rid of it. Guess what? Nothing happened. No accidents increased in the country. Nothing happened. On the opposite, everybody was very happy.
Others believe that fighting corruption in the public service can only be achieved through the collaboration of the private sector, who could serve as whistleblowers when shady deals are discovered.
We have to encourage the private sector to report cases of corruption to the appropriate authorities.
Although tackling corruption in the public service will require concerted efforts by government and a new orientation by the nation's workforce, the consensus here is that a more transparent and public service is achievable if the right policies are in place.
Well, highlights there from the summit, from yesterday's event here at the 21st Nigerian Economic Summit. Tough choices that need to be made, but then you can achieve so many of the issues or so many of the advantages that were actually, raised here. You can achieve, good potentials with it, especially if you harness that very critical sector. I'm talking about the entrepreneurial labor force. We have a very large entrepreneurial labor force here in Nigeria, and that can help to, achieve what these delegates here at the Economic Summit have been talking about, that is, achieving market competitiveness, inclusive growth and sustainability. The choices are very hard to make, and unfortunately we've run out of time here. But Bosun Omofaye, Business News Editor, will be joining, joining me here at the Economic Summit to talk more or to give us his perspectives on some of the issues that was raised. Bosun, I know we have very little time, and I seem to be getting my thoughts all jumbled up. But I'd really like to get your perspectives. Good morning to you, first of all, and thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to get your quick perspectives on what's actually been going on here.
Yeah, I think so much has been said. If you go through the social media, there have been a lot of discussions about what has been achieved in the last 20 editions of the NESG, has any of these things crystallized into what forms national economic policy, planning and actions moving forward. So people outside and millions of Nigeria watching these events on channels around the world and all the platforms are concerned about, yes, this is very good, bringing all the issues from the political sector, from the politics to policy to private sector, all on the table with businesses and the financial markets.
And NGOs and NGOs
and the civil society organization, and it's all inclusive. But again, at the end of the day, political will has to be provided by those who are in leadership to drive the economy forward. And I think that is one very key thing. So folks who want to see, yes, the topic for this year and the theme for this year is very apt, it's well designed, the speakers have spoken so well, there's been a very great organization put together here. But we want to see how this flows into the government. But I'm impressed personally that the Vice President spent 2 days back to back at this event, sitting down with the people. He's a private sector person, he is an administrator, and he's also a legal luminary. So he understands the language of the gathering here at the event, and that is quite. I was impressed that he didn't just leave at the opening ceremonies, which used to be the norm. After the opening ceremonies, is all scattered. But the VP was here, and he, being the person who is going to drive privatization process moving forward, going to drive most of the economic issues moving forward, sitting down here with the technocrats and the business leaders for 2 days, and I think that was instructive for me as a person. Then again, he had some chat when he went on the first day to do the tour of the exhibitions. He spoke to a few company CEOs and bank CEOs. I listened in a few on those conversations, and he's very interested in how to get low interest rate that will help people, Nigerians at the bottom of the pyramid, to get bank loans that will be able to get them affordable housing. And these were things I overheard the Vice President talked about. I think it's a good way moving forward.
Yes, it is a good way. But get past those tough choices, it needs to have a good implementation, and not just implementation, the political will to implement it. These are tough choices at this time, especially because of the global cyclical recession that we're seeing, the tightening and the rest of it. So a lot of things really needs to be done. But you get lost in a lot of all this ongoing conversations, and you forget a lot of things.
Yesterday, almost how many plenary sessions?
Almost they had about six, close to 10
breakout
sessions, and not to mention the designed workshop. So there's been a lot of feedback coming in from the summit. It's one of the most inclusive one, I must mention, because everybody has been brought on board and allowed to talk about whatever the issues are. So we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about competitiveness, and we're talking about inclusive growth, which is very key, which are very key for Nigeria's economy to thrive.
Quite interesting.
But thank you so much. Bosun is back hopefully at 1:30 on Business Incorporated, a bit more about what's actually going on at the present. Right now it's a plenary on focusing on budget implementation, of course, and we've got the former MPC Minister, Mr. Shamsuddin Osman, and we've got Mr. Ben Akabuze, and of course that particular session. But that's it on Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We'll take you right back now into the hall where that session is currently ongoing, and of course you can follow Channels Television for live updates as it comes. I'm Harriet Agbeni. Have a profitable day.